things first, time for stories to start your morning. Tiger Woods still trying to return to form after having spinal fusion surgery. Asked about his swing ahead of the Masters, he said, quote, "For some reason, it's come back." CC, what does Tiger need to do to win at Augusta this weekend?
Well, Jenna, Augusta National has a number of different challenges besides the field, because this is a field like we haven't seen. All the best golfers, including Dustin Johnson, #1 in the world, they're all playing their best golf. Phil Mickelson winning last month puts him back into contention. But there's 8 holes that are a dog leg right to left. On those holes, Tiger has to be able to hit his driver in 3-wood better. He struggled with his driver because right now he's hitting it left to right, but technology's gone to a longer shaft. He's also gone to graphite compared to steel. So Tiger Woods is trying to change his equipment. On those 8 holes, he's got to be able to hit the ball from right to left. Everything else will take care of itself. It's that simple if he drives it well.
Listen, if he drives it well, right now, 3rd on the tour in scoring around the green, 3rd on the tour in 1 putts. He was 59 out of 59 attempts inside of 10 feet in his last tournament. But he's outside of the top 200 in driving accuracy. If he can be middle of the pack driving accuracy,
yes,
he will be in contention on the back 9 on Sunday, which would be remarkable. If he wins this tournament, CC, he will have as many Masters as Phil has majors. And we look at Phil as one of the greatest golfers ever. Little context for, it's been a while since we thought about, Tiger hasn't even made the cut at a major since the Masters in 2015.
Yes.
It's been a while since we've seen him on the weekend at a major. We're going to see that this weekend. The question is how high up the leaderboard he will be.
All right, moving on to football. In the NFL, Deshaun Watson's rookie season was cut short after 6 starts when he tore his ACL in practice. His head coach, Bill O'Brien, not concerned about the QB bouncing back, saying, quote, "He seems to have an instinct for being able to stay out of harm's way." CC, is there such a thing as injury-avoiding instincts?
Oh, yeah, it's like a button you push, and right before you're getting ready to get hurt, you push that button, and it kind of, it just protects you.
Get a little biodome around you?
Yeah, something like that. He does have great instincts. I'm not worried about him getting hurt, but it is football. It's contact football. He's torn both of his knees. I do believe he will make a comeback, but there's no one that has that imaginary superpower. And I just checked out Black Panther. Even Black Panther couldn't do that.
And keep in mind, Deshaun blew his knee out in practice on a drop back. Like, I mean, these things...
Non-contact.
Now, I do believe I don't think what Bill O'Brien is talking about exists. But the opposite certainly does, which is guys who are prone to injury, guys who run themselves into injury, RG3.
And if he gets hurt again...
If he gets hurt again, people will say that is him. I don't think that's him. I don't think he's a guy who's prone to injury. I think he's had a couple of freak things. But you are going to see, we saw this team be dynamic offensively with him last year. How he's going to be now post another ACL, we'll see. I'm optimistic for him, but it's something you got to watch.
All right, moving on. James Harden went off last night. He had 38 points. He had 10 rebounds. He had 9 assists. Harden continues his strong MVP push, and former MVP and teammate Kevin Durant thinks there's only one option, saying, quote, "Just give it to him. It's his time to win it." CC, is Durant right about James Harden?
Durant is right. It would have been nice if Durant and LeBron were right about. LeBron said he should be the MVP, but you got to respect the best players in the world. He's one of their peers, and James has earned it. Not only this season, but the couple seasons before that. People know that he should have won an MVP by now, but his team is the best in the NBA. He's gelled with Chris Paul and the other additions to that Houston team. Yes, James Harden is the best player in the NBA this season, hands down.
You know, it's interesting. I said last week on the show that I think LeBron should have won 8 of the last 10, but this is one of the 2 years I don't think LeBron should win it. Brian Windhurst then reported LeBron thinks he should have won 8 of the last 10, but he does think this is the one that he should win it. Like, I
think LeBron watches the show.
What I don't know about that, but what I do think is this, like, every time LeBron seems to maybe close the gap a little bit, you check the box score if you weren't watching the game, you're like, what Harden do last night? Oh, almost another 40-point triple-double. Like, he has been, and the precedent, you got to ignore the precedent that was set last year with Westbrook. The precedent has been for 35 years. One of the best teams in the league, a dominant statistical profile, best player on that team. That's who your MVP is. Harden checks every single box, and it doesn't hurt him that I believe he was snubbed 3 years ago and 1 year ago, even at least as far as the guy who finished ahead of him shouldn't have finished.
And I do believe these things can coexist. LeBron had his best offensive season ever. but Harden is the MVP.
The precedent is the team success matters so much.
All right, Russell Westbrook, speaking of which, ripped down 16 rebounds in last night's loss to the Warriors. I wonder if he knew it was 16. He needs 41 boards in the Thunder's final 3 games to average a triple-double this season. He would be the first player in history to average a triple-double twice, also doing so last year. Nick, you think he pulls it off?
I think he can pull it off. I think he went into this game last night obviously knowing I need 57 because he went out and got 16 rebounds, had a bunch early. Russ is aware of these stats. But it is, and you guys know how much I love Russ. My second favorite player in the whole league. I love how he plays as far as his toughness, as far as the way he goes hard every single night. But it is going to make some people question. Our friend Chris Broussard, who voted for Russ for MVP last year, I want to see where Russ is on Broussard's ballot this year because he's going to average a triple-double again, I believe. They're going to win identical amount of games, I think, 47 wins. And I'm guessing Russ does not finish in the top 4 of the MVP, which might make us reconsider whether or not he or James Harden or LeBron should have been the MVP last year. But another amazing season from Russ.
Very impressive. I guarantee you there have not been 50 conversations about Russ and a triple-double for the 2017-18 season. Now, we started off the season, people said, well, with Paul George, with Melo, how far can they go? It wasn't, can he average a triple-double again?
It snuck up on us.
Yeah, so it's an amazing feat. Last night during the telecast, you and I were on the phone, and you said, hey, man, did you know he had the same stats? You know if he has 41 rebounds in the last 3 games? I'm listening to the telecast. I was like, Nick, they just said that on the telecast. Man, it is amazing because I was shocked by the whole thing.
Right.
Amazing feat for Russ, and that should get him some MVP votes.
All right, finally, the Cavs defeated the top-seeded Raptors 112-106 last night. LeBron looked sharp in his 78th game of the season.
Get off of me. Child's play.
He finished with 27, 10, and 6. Cavs have now won 4 in a row, 10 of their last 12.
Go get your dad. You're too small. Get in the weight room.
Nick,
it's time to work on your body.
Cavs, it's all fun and games until someone says the wrong word and there's Christmas on your face.
Oh, yes.
The Cavs erase all doubt that they're the favorites in the East last night?
Okay, so this is a tough question for me because you guys know that I have been a man on an island a bit, never doubting this. But now...
No, it's time for a full disclosure, Jenna.
Let me hear it.
I mean, there's not many times. You guys run the video. Just, like, run it so we can, like, kind of frame this moment. Nick wrong was right this time. I mean, we get on him when he's wrong. The people in Philly, zzz, okay? Other things, zzz.
Yeah.
The Cavs, are you worried, Nick? No. No one's playing tonight. Are you worried? No. JR just threw hot soup on the assistant coach. Are you worried, Nick? Nah, it didn't hit him in the face. The coach is taking a leave of absence. LeBron is the acting coach, Chris. I got to give it to him. I mean, he hung in there. I mean, I love the Cavs. Nick's has affected my love for the Cavs. I mean, that's my team. LeBron is my guy.
You're from Ohio.
But I was concerned.
Yeah.
Never along the way. He's like the LeBron meme, smoking a cigarette, just chilling. No, don't worry, Chris, no problem. So, yeah, I got to give it to you. What's it called?
Meme.
Yeah.
At least you didn't call it a meme as some have. All right, listen. So thank you, CC. I appreciate that. The reason I had never been concerned and the reason now people are going to start to agree is because no one has ever been able to answer this question. Who's checking LeBron? Who's slowing him down? What's the Raptors' plan? Because the Raptors' plan last night was a rotation of Pascal Siakam, OG Anunoby, and CJ Miles. That didn't work out so well for him. No. I'm just curious. Like Philly, you guys know how much respect I have for the Sixers. But we've seen a team that now, by the way, think back on that Thunder team. That had not 1, not 2, but 3 league MVPs on it. And what'd they do their first year in the playoffs? Got bounced in the first round. What'd they do their second year in the playoffs? Made it to the Western Conference Finals. What'd they do their third year in the playoffs? Finally broke through to get to the finals, only to get beat by this guy, by the way. So the idea that Philly's going to go from no playoffs to winning the conference, basically unprecedented. We worried about Boston. Man, injuries happen. Maybe it's a different story for some if Gordon Hayward doesn't break his leg, if Kyrie doesn't deal with the knee injury. But those things happened. Like Gordon Hayward's injury happened immediately. So what we had all along was the worst-case scenario second-best player ever, at the peak of his powers, playing all 82 games, amazingly, saying, hey, Doesn't matter who I'm playing with. Doesn't matter who the other guys are. I'm going to find a way to make it work. And what I cannot have, but I know will happen, is people will do revisionist history on
they'll forget.
All year long, I heard about how good Toronto was. All year long, I heard about how dangerous Boston is.
Toronto had me nervous.
All year long, I heard Milwaukee's coming, Philly's coming. But when the Cavs go through the East in 13 or 14 games, as they have each of the last 3 years, the narrative will instantly flip to, well, of course they did. The East is trash. That was not what folks were saying all year. Folks were saying this is the year it doesn't happen. This is why LeBron's going to leave Cleveland. So now, are the Cavs the favorite? Of course they're the favorite. They've been the favorite. But it's not because of the other teams. It's because of that guy. It's because they have that guy. And until that changes, they will continue to be the favorite.
Then let me ask you a quick question, yes or no. Does LeBron stay on this team anything shy of winning the title?
I do not believe so. I think the relationship with Gilbert's too fractured. I think they have to win the championship for him to even consider staying with Cleveland.
He's right again.
All right, that's twice, so that he's done.
All right, there we go. Appreciate you.
What's up?
AirPod. Back to the NFL. Odell Beckham Jr. hasn't been traded yet, but that hasn't stopped the chatter of where he might end up. The Rams just picked up receiver Brandon Cooks from the Patriots, so we know now he's more than likely not going to the Rams. But 30 teams still remain as possible trade partners for the Giants. Adam Schefter is reporting the possibility of Odell getting traded is very real, absolutely real. So then let's break this down a little. CC, who are realistic trade partners for OBJ?
CC, and I know how much respect you have for Schefter. If Schefter's saying this is not some speculation. There is some meat to it. I know you believe that. So tell me a team.
If Adam Schefter say it's going to rain, take your umbrella. I don't care if the sun is out. I mean, his sources are tight. There is no one wired in to information stronger than Shefty. So the reality was the Rams just completed a trade yesterday for Brandon Cooks. There was discussion that the Rams were discussing with the Giants about trading for Odell Beckham. I believe that to be true. So I believe he's still on the trading blocks. I believe the Giants, in the back of their mind, there's two concerns. One is, who is he going to be in the future? And the next is, can we actually sign him to the type of contract that would make him happy? Now, the Giants, part of their front office believes that he will mature and be that superstar and the team leader that they need him to be. But there's also part of the front office believe, man, this kid might want $22 million. Like, we might not be able to afford them. So I believe that the trade, it's a real thing. And if it is real, the team that I look at is, man, let's finish this thing off. Tom Coughlin. He drafted the kid from LSU. Made him the superstar in New York. Man, what is Jacksonville missing besides a top-flight quarterback? I believe his personality fits into Jacksonville. I trade him to the AFC, too. Wouldn't trade him in the NFC and have to beat him every year, have to face him the next 10 years. So I believe that Tom Coughlin, his presence in Jacksonville, makes it a real possibility.
I think the Jacksonville one's very fascinating. I'm going to add a couple other teams. I think San Francisco, with the money they've invested in Jimmy Garoppolo, still have a ton of cap space. They have the 9th pick in the draft.
That.
You're a believer that if you trade Odell, you got to get a wide receiver back. That brings the Los Angeles Chargers into play. They have the 17th pick, but they also have Mike Williams, who they just spent a top 10 pick on, but then Keenan Allen as well. That's a team that our friend Chris Canty mentioned I thought was interesting. From a fantasy football perspective,
I don't like Mike Williams as much as I like Keenan Allen.
Sure.
Keenan's had some injuries and everything. Mike Williams, I believe, is going to be a #1 receiver, but Keenan Allen, he can get it done for me in the Giants.
From a fantasy football perspective, though, even though I understand the personalities don't mesh and the salaries, I get it, the Pats are what's the most interesting. They now have 2 picks in the first round, 2 more picks in the second round. They traded away Tom Brady's #1 option. I know you think for a lot of reasons that wouldn't happen. Just indulge me on this. Tell me in 60 seconds, what would it look like? Would it be like 07 with Randy Moss? What would it look like?
It would be worse. Like, you talking about fantasy football.
You mean worse by better?
It'd be worse because his ability to run the shorter routes better than Randy Moss. Randy Moss, the first ballot Hall of Famer. But the shorter, the releases, the intermediate routes, his ability to be able to catch the ball and make people miss, I mean, that's superior to what Moss can do. So, I mean, Josh McDaniels, it would be like Josh McDaniels stayed in New England for Odell Beckham. And Josh McDaniels and Odell Beckham would be one of the most dangerous combinations in the NFL. It would be sick. Like, it wouldn't be good for the AFC. It wouldn't be good for them.
Still think it's nuts that we're discussing trading Odell Beckham Jr. He was a Giant.
He is
Coming
a giant.
Up, he might was be a giant.
Was be a giant.
All right, wrap your head around that. Coming up with your fake coffee. More fall. There's never coffee at the last segment. More fallout from the huge
Nick, you say.
I don't know.
We're back after this. Talk about this a little bit more.
Alamo
no is the answer.
Oh, Alamo, no. I thought you said Alamo.